Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I feel like there are some games out there that just come and go with little attention given to them, because they aren't these huge AAA games. Which is kind of a shame because some of the indie games that came out last year have been really terrific. And the future is full of promising titles too. Death's Door is a game where I feel like people talked about the game for like a week. It's a really interesting premise with familiar gameplay, and the music is probably the best part of the game. Which isn't a knock against the game itself, but there are some great tracks here that really elevate the gameplay as a whole, especially in the boss battles. But first, let's get into the meat of the game, like the story and its gameplay. The adventure starts off with our main hero tasked to do a simple assignment for a death organization that he works for. This one assignment turns into a whole ordeal that reveals the truth behind the company. You play as a little crow who works as a reaper who gathers souls that have been living for far too long. These souls eventually become corrupt and start going mad. It's honestly kind of sad defeating these creatures as they are just trying to live long. However, death is important in this world, and the cycle of life is mentioned throughout the game. With a story this dark, it might be surprising that this game can be pretty funny at times, with some quirky characters. There's even a guy that has been cursed with a pot for a head. He's my favorite. The story is pretty intriguing, but more importantly, the mystery of this world is revealed in small doses, and the game doesn't reveal everything. It keeps most things ambiguous. The art style overall is more simplistic with a muted color palette that is both charming and dark at the same time. It's the perfect fit for a game such as this. I really enjoy how the main crow's weapons and spells are vibrant compared to their environment. The contrast is present throughout the game. There's also one boss battle near the end that had me giddy with excitement on the account of how visually striking it was. If you don't want to be spoiled, skip to this number in the video so I can gush about this part alone. 3, 2, 1. This is incredible. The landscape is completely engulfed in white, and the boss's attacks are completely pitch black. I wish all the boss battles could look this good. Not only is the boss battle really fun, but the simplicity of the art style is on full display here, and it definitely enhances the fight overall. The game as a whole is really stylish in its art style. Sometimes the most simplistic art style can be the most effective. Death's Door is a game that is most familiar with a Zelda game. So for those who have played a Zelda game, you kind of know what you're getting into, for the most part. There are differences that we will go into, but essentially the game takes place in two worlds. One is the office space, which acts as a hub world, and unfortunately not the most interesting one at that. It's a funny concept having these Death Reapers work in an office, but the hub world just doesn't have a lot going on. You can improve your crow by buying upgrades at the shop, but that's about it. This is kind of your standard upgrade system. You can also fast travel to different parts of the world with these doors spread throughout the office. And speaking of the overworld, that's the place that will take most of your time. Of course, you got different areas to go to and little secrets to uncover, like more weapons and upgrades to your health and spell capacity. The weapons are cool, but I just stuck with my tried and true sword. The combat in general is for the most part what you would expect. You got a simple combo, a dodge roll, and your spells. Your spells include a bow, a fireball, a bomb, and one other ability that I was happy to see in this game, and I won't spoil that for you. I guess you're going to have to find out about that one on your own. There's also a weird way for you to regain health in Death's Door. You see, in a game like this, you would normally have to pick up like hearts or life orbs off the ground to regain health. However, in this game, you collect seeds and plant them in pots scattered throughout the world. Those seeds will then turn into like health plants, and then that will refill your health. I'm gonna be honest, at first I really didn't like this mechanic. It just seemed weird and pointless, but now I can really appreciate that they went with this mechanic. It worked for this game honestly, because this game can be extremely difficult, and giving you health drops by killing enemies would make the game easier. It wouldn't work in other games, but in this one in particular, it works. They really focused on the difficulty, so much so that they made a fancy death screen every time you die. How neat! But let's be real though, this font is amazing. If anyone happens to know this font, please let me know. I love this font and I don't know why. But yeah, the boss battles in particular are no joke. It may take a while to beat some of them. The game as a whole is difficult, but in a good way. For a game that's called Death's Door, you better believe it's going to be difficult. The music is actually really good. I don't mean to sound that surprised, but I just didn't think that one of the biggest takeaways from Death's Door is the music. The game's composer is David Fenn. He's worked on other indie games like Moonlighter. Most tracks in Death's Door consist of a piano melody, and it fits perfectly with the moody atmosphere of the game. The boss battles in particular are epic orchestral arrangements that elevates the intensity of those fights. It's one of my favorite soundtracks of 2021. It's honestly so good. Death's Door is a solid package. Thankfully, it's not too long, but it definitely gives you enough gameplay to warrant its purchase. The art is simple but effective, and it shines in certain instances. The world design is a little open, but mostly linear. Either way, I would have liked a map of some kind to avoid getting lost. I found that very weird that there wasn't a map of any kind that I could find. Also, the game on the Switch is optimized pretty well, but I can't help to feel like I should have played it on PS5 or on the computer or something, because wow, the game runs better on those platforms. Not that it runs bad on Switch, but there's definitely a difference here. However, I think the game works very well on the Switch, and having this game on a handheld is kind of perfect for an indie game like this. While I like the puzzles in Death's Door, some of the dungeons could have been more interesting to traverse in. I don't know, they didn't really do it for me. And not that they were going for dungeons, but they were dungeon-like. They just weren't really interesting to look at or to kind of go through. The puzzles were fun, but the dungeons themselves, the design, I don't know, it just wasn't doing it for me. Overall, I would give Death's Door an 8 out of 10. It's a really fun game, especially if you're a fan of puzzles and adventure, and if you don't mind difficult games, because this is one super difficult game. Some of these boss battles, it took me 10, 15 tries maybe. It's really difficult, but very satisfying to get through. Thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. God bless.